So set 7 has been out on PBE for about a day, and so I wanted to share some comps that I've been having a lot of success with. All of these will also be linked in an Imgur album down in the description. So the first one up is 6 Ragewing. Here we're running Xayah as our main carry. We're using Rage Blade, IE, and Last Whisper as items on her. You just kind of want full AD. Maybe even go Giant Slayer instead of Rage Blade on her, because you do get a little bit of mana through Invoker here. We need Shyvana as our dragon here to get +3 Ragewing, and it's a level 8 comp even though we're only running 7 units because the dragons count as 2. You can also throw some items on Shyvana, but since she costs 10 gold and is also a legendary, it is going to be hard to find her a lot of the time. Therefore, we usually throw our tank items on Hecarim instead, since he's 4 cost and you can very consistently 2-star him, especially if we get to level 8. Positioning wise, make sure to place Xayah kind of like a sniper. She's the only one who's going to be doing damage. Varus is not going to be doing a lot, so you kind of just use him as like thresh bait or CC bait. The way it works is that the farther away the swift shot units are from enemy champions, they get bonus attack speed as opposed to bonus damage with snipers from the last set. So you kind of want to do the same thing where you don't have your front line over here, because you want to have make the enemies walk like this direction to maximize the damage and therefore the attack speed you get from Xayah. Sona and Lulu are in here to give us more protection for Xayah. Sona's going to be stunning units in her ult line, and then Lulu's also going to be stunning the enemies that are close and also buffing the attack speed of Xayah. The next one up is a reroll comp, where you reroll Nami, Lilia, Vladimir, and Heimerdinger. Some people also call this VietNAMI, since we're kind of running Nami as our main carry and Vladimir at the same time. So the whole goal of this comp is to basically make Vladimir unkillable. Toss tank items on him, and then he's going to be healing with his spell. And then we have Nami as well, who's going to be healing up the rest of our team and also be doing a fair amount of damage. And then Heimerdinger and Ryze will deal additional damage as we get later into the game as well. As for items, we really want 3 tank items on Vladimir, and the Dragon's Claw is really good on him now because it heals a percentage every single second. So I think it's like 1.2% of his total HP. And so then we do Warmogs to buff that up even further, and then Stoneplate to get some more defensive stats on him. As for Nami, she has 80 mana, so we really want Sojin to make sure she can cast consistently, and then we want raw AP on her because her spell deals both damage and heals, and they both scale off of AP. So if we go like IE Jewel Gauntlet, then we're not getting as much healing, and we know that keeping Vladimir alive is like what keeps this comp together. So we really want just raw AP on Nami. In order to hit this, you slow roll at level 5 for your 1 cost and 2's cost 3 stars. And so you want to play 3 Astrals, so you can just toss in a Nidalee to get that in, and then you drop Bard, Zoe, Sylas, and Ryze, and then you play something like this until you have 3-starred these 4 units, and then you drop Nidalee to put in the rest of the champions. And so the next one up is kind of a very similar version. It works almost the exact same way, only that now we're playing 6 Astrals. So you do the same thing where you slow roll for Vladimir, Skarner, Nidalee, and Nami. And then once you hit those, then you want to add in Varus and Illaoi. And you also really want 3 mage to make Nami and Vladimir actually work as carries. One thing to know is that you can roll relatively aggressively with this comp. Since you get gold every 5th shop once you hit your Astrals, then you actually get some of that gold back. And we also need to free up our bench space. It's kind of like Yordles, but since there's a big gap between 1, 2, and 3 cost units, then usually we're able to get all the 3 stars without having to sell some of them off like you have to do with Yordles right now. And then in the end, you add in Bard as your level 8 unit to get Mystics and to also get that guild in for the more mana regeneration, which is really nice for Nami and Vladimir. Next one up is 4 Rebels with Corki carry. We go IE Jewel Gauntlet and Giant Slayer on him. Jewel Gauntlet seems to make the Rebels crit. And the Rebel is essentially whenever they cast like a rocket that deals magic damage goes to the enemy team. And that will crit with Jewel Gauntlet, so that's why we run that. If you get more AD items, then that's also fine. Then we want to lean a little bit more into Cannoneer. But this is essentially the level 8 comp. It's relatively cheap since we're only running 2 4-cost units with Corki and Sona. And one thing to note here is that you don't really want like Last Whisper or anything, because we get that through the Whisper trait. And so essentially that works by Thresh and Sylas will attack champions, and they will get their armor and magic resistance reduced. So you want to have Thresh and Sylas on like the same side as Corki, so they're like reducing the armor and MR of the champions that Corki will be attacking. And then keep Lulu close, and then make sure Sona is ulting in a nice path to stun as many champions as possible. Throw your tank items on Sylas as well. And also having aura items is really nice with this, since we're kind of all in on one carry here. So stuff like Chalice and Zeke's, really nice to buff up Corki. Also Banshee's Claw to keep him safe. Next one up is 6 Mirage, and this trait depends on the game. It's just like Mutants in set 6. Depending on which variation you have, you want to play it a little bit differently, but essentially you almost always want these 6 units, or I guess 5 units. It's a dragon, so this counts as 2. These 6 champions for 6 Mirage. And then you can add in 2 Cavaliers, or you can add in 3 Mage if you get like a Mage spatula for him, or even stuff like Guardian or other traits, depending on what you get from augments as well. Xayah is essentially a AP carry, so you want him to cast as many spells as possible, and then you can run either Gunblade or BT to heal him back up. He takes a bit long to cast, so I really like to have healing items on him to make sure that he can actually heal off the massive damage that he deals. Tank items, you want to throw those on Hecarim or Nunu, depending on who you 2-star first. Although Hecarim is a bit stronger than the Nunu, obviously, since he is a 4-cost. And then late game, you replace Yone for Yasuo, and as always, you can drop Sejuani and Lilia for other legendaries or other traits you might need, like Mystics or Guardians. Next one up is Assassin Reroll. You slow roll at level 6, and then you go for 3-star Kayn, Qiyana, and Shen. So you usually drop like Hecarim and Ornn, and then you add in Talon once you hit that. As for Kayn, through Ragewing, he gets Omnivamp, or healing, so we don't really need BT on him. Instead, I like to have Edge of Night, so that he drops aggro whenever he gets too low, and so then he gets to drop aggro and then heal up through Ragewing once he casts a spell. IE, as always, is pretty much mandatory on any assassin carry, and then Giant Slayer is nice, because there's a lot of high HP targets in the set. Qiyana and Diana are kind of support units, so we don't really itemize those too much. After we've itemized Kayn, we really want to put our tank items on Shen to make sure that he is as tanky as he can be. And once you hit 3-star Kayn at level 6, then you really want to level up to 8 to get in this board. And then you want to keep trying to 3-star Shen after that, and Qiyana as well if you are closer. But Kayn and Shen are like the really 2 important ones here. I guess you could also 3-star Diana as well, if you do end up finding a lot of her at level 6, because it is possible with a 30% chance of 3-cost units there. Next one up is Ryze Reroll. We go for 3-star Ryze, Sylas, and Lulu here. And then as for Ryze, he only has 20 mana, but whenever he casts a spell, that increases. So we actually want Sojourn on him. It's a bit counterintuitive and a bit weird, but essentially the more mana he has, the more damage he deals with a spell. Essentially, if you don't have Sojourns on him, then he's not going to be able to cast the spell after a couple of casts, and then you could just lose. And then we also have Invoker to keep getting more mana into him. Throw your tank items on Sylas, making sure that he's tanky is really nice. He also gets Mage, so he's going to be dealing a lot of damage as well. I really also like having Spark, especially since Ryze doesn't deal that much damage at the start, so you can kind of just get rolled in a lot of fights if you don't have this item, because he's doing very little damage, and he's your main source of damage as well. And so when he's not doing much damage, then none of the enemy team's champions are dying, and then they can just run through you and lose. So this item is pretty important, especially so that Ryze can actually kill stuff at the very beginning of the fight. Then level 8, you will usually just add in Bard, since you get another Mystic, and then you get 3 Guild, which is really nice, because with Bard you get Mana Gen. And so that's also super nice for Ryze. Next one up is Brusier SyFen. This works very similarly to Brawler Shyvana from set 4.5, where you just put in the Bruisers, and then you add in SyFen, and then you put in Lee Sin for 2 Tempest to get that CC into the board, so that SyFen has some time to heal back up. We don't need like Last Whisper or anything on SyFen, since with Poor Whisper, we're shredding quite a bit of armor, and with this spell, he also ignores 50% of the enemy champion he's attacking's armor. You throw your extra tank items on Ornn, but you also really want to have support items like Chalice and Zeke's to further buff up SyFen here. And then IE, Giant Slayer, and BT just to get healing, and also to be able to deal a lot of damage with IE and Giant Slayer. Last up is Jade. I haven't played this myself, but I've seen a lot of other people play it, so take what I say here with a grain of salt, but you essentially get 6 Jaden with the Xiaoyu counting as 3, and then Nico as more frontline and tankiness, and then Anivia and Soraka to get some support in, and then Invoker with Lulu and Anivia, and then Illaoi and Ornn can be replaced for other units, but getting Bruiser in here is really nice, especially when we already have Mystic, and we get a lot of stats from the Jades as well. Then on this champion, you want tank items or you want damage items. If you have tank items on Xiaoyu, then you need to have damage items on Nico and run her as the carry, but I like putting AD items on Xiaoyu instead. That's what I've seen work better in my lobbies. That was all the comps. Like I said earlier, this will all be linked in an Imgur album down in the description. And if you want to, you can join the Discord. Here we're discussing everything about set 7. And also, here are some more comps, theory crafting. And there's also people playing in-houses right now. So if you need people to play PBE with, then this is the place. I will leave an invite link to this down in the description. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.